My wife cheated with my best friend, then secretly transferred $200, $0 of our joint savings to his offshore account, and now she's claiming I'm the one stealing from her. Help, I'm losing everything. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation where my wife, Emily, would turn out to be nothing like the woman I married. Honestly, the whole thing feels like a bad movie, but it's my life, and I'm still trying to piece it together. It all started subtly, little things that didn't seem like much at first. She'd be on her phone more often, texting late at night, and I'd catch her in little lies about where she was or who she was talking to. I brushed it off initially, convincing myself that maybe she was just stressed or busy with work. But then came the signs that something was really off. It was about 2 months ago when I started noticing the bank statements. Emily had always been the spender in the relationship, shopping sprees, fancy dinners, trips, all on our joint account. But suddenly there were withdrawals I didn't recognize. Small amounts at first, then larger sums. I'd see charges from a place I'd never heard of, and the biggest shock was a transfer of $200, $0 to an offshore account. I'm talking about a huge chunk of our savings gone without my knowledge. I couldn't believe it. How could she do this? Why would she transfer that kind of money without telling me? I tried to confront her about the bank statements, but she laughed it off. Said I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that I was just overreacting. She called me insecure, accused me of not trusting her. But I knew her too well. I had a gut feeling she was hiding something. Then I started noticing other things: her phone always locked, hiding messages, her mood swings, her lying about where she was going. It all pointed to one thing: she was cheating on me. It was like a punch in the stomach. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. One night I decided to follow her. I needed to see for myself. She said she was going out with her friends, but I had a feeling she was meeting someone else. It wasn't long before I saw her with a guy, Mark, my best friend. They were in a restaurant laughing, holding hands. I couldn't believe it. Mark, my closest friend, the guy I trusted with everything. And there they were, acting like a couple. I felt my blood boil. How could they do this to me? How could Emily betray me like that, and Mark, my friend, just stand there and go along with it? The worst part was how she lied about everything afterward. When I confronted her, she denied everything at first. Said I was seeing things, that Mark was just a friend, that I was paranoid. Then she turned it around, blaming me for everything, saying I was neglecting her, that I was too busy with work and didn't pay enough attention. She claimed I was controlling, jealous. Nothing was her fault, but I knew the truth. I had seen her with my own eyes. The betrayal ran so deep I didn't even recognize the woman I married anymore. And then came the final blow. She told me she was pregnant with Mark's baby. That was the moment I knew I had to get out of there. It was a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut all over again. How could she do this? How could she lie, cheat, steal from us, and then expect me to just accept it? I was furious, but there was also a deep sadness. I loved her. I wanted to believe in us. But she had shattered everything with her lies and betrayal. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew one thing. I couldn't stay in that house, living with a woman who had turned into a stranger and a best friend who was no longer my friend. I needed to figure out my next move, and fast. After I saw Emily with Mark, everything felt like it was collapsing inside me. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept racing, trying to process how she could do this, to me, to us. The trust we built over years was gone in an instant. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, but deep down I knew it wasn't my fault. She chose this path, and Mark was right there, complicit in it. The betrayal cut so deep I felt like I was drowning in it. That night, I stayed awake until dawn, staring at the ceiling, trying to come up with a plan. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew it wouldn't be easy. How do you face your wife, your best friend, and the woman you trusted with everything all at once? I decided I needed proof, something concrete I could use to hold her accountable. I started digging into the bank records. The transfer of money that she claimed was for a business idea. But I knew better. I knew that money was gone, transferred offshore, probably into some secret account she didn't tell me about. The next day, I hired a private investigator. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I needed to see what was really going on. Over the next few days, the pie confirmed what I suspected. Emily had been funneling our savings into a secret offshore account for months. She'd been lying to me about everything: her job, her whereabouts, her spending. I got access to the account details, and it was shocking. The money was gone, transferred to some shell company in the Caribbean. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. All those nights I thought she was working late, she was actually planning her escape, her affair, her betrayal. Meanwhile, Emily kept up her act. She'd come home, act like everything was normal, and then turn around and accuse me of being paranoid. She told me I was crazy for suspecting her, that I was just jealous and insecure. She insisted she loved me, that she'd never cheat, that I was just imagining things. But I saw through her lies. Her eyes, her tone, she was lying. And her lies only made me angrier. How could she be so manipulative, so good at pretending? I started to feel like I didn't even know who she was anymore. One afternoon, I found her phone open on the kitchen table. I saw messages from Mark, flirty, intimate, full of promises. I saw texts where she called him the love of her life, and he responded with the same. That was the moment I snapped. I took screenshots, saved everything. I knew I needed proof to confront her properly, to make her see that I wasn't going to be played anymore. I also found emails from her, discussing plans to leave the country with Mark, to start a new life somewhere else. They'd been planning to run away together, taking my money and leaving me behind. That was the final straw. I sat her down that evening, my heart pounding in my chest. I laid out everything I found: her lies, the transfer of funds, the messages. Her face turned pale, then red with anger. She denied everything at first, calling me a jealous fool, claiming I was making it all up. But I had the proof. I showed her the screenshots, the bank records, the emails. Her reaction was a mix of rage and panic. She started screaming, calling me a bastard, telling me I was ruining her life. Then she looked at me with that bitchy, manipulative look and said, "You're just jealous because I want a better life. You're so insecure you can't handle me having a little fun. You're just a control freak." That's when I realized I had been blinded by love, but she was just a user and a liar. I felt sick, disgusted with her, with myself for not seeing it sooner. The betrayal wasn't just about the affair or the money. It was about her complete lack of respect for everything we had built. I thought about the life we were supposed to have, the dreams we shared, and how she threw it all away for some fleeting pleasure with Mark and the promise of a new life. I knew then I couldn't stay. Not anymore. I needed to get out, to take back what was mine, and to start rebuilding from the wreckage she left behind. But I also knew that revenge was on my mind. She had to pay for what she did, and I was going to make sure she did. After that confrontation, I felt like I was walking on a razor's edge. Part of me wanted to explode, to scream at her, to destroy everything she loved. But deep down, I knew I had to be strategic. If I was going to take her down, I needed a plan, not just raw anger. I decided to gather all the evidence I had: screenshots, bank records, emails, and prepare for what was coming next. In the days that followed, I started making calls. I contacted a lawyer, one who specialized in financial fraud and infidelity. I needed to understand my options. She was claiming I was stealing from her, saying I was the one secretly draining our account. That was just her way of trying to cover her tracks, but I knew better. I wasn't the one who transferred that money offshore. She was. I also contacted the bank, and they confirmed the transfer was legitimate and irreversible. There was no way to get that money back, but at least I had the evidence to prove she was lying about her finances. Meanwhile, Emily kept up her act. She tried to play the victim, crying about how I was ruining her life, how she didn't want to lose everything. She told me I was a controlling bastard, that I was making her out to be a villain. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I saw her for what she was: a manipulative, selfish woman who had no problem cheating, stealing, and lying to get what she wanted. I started to realize that she was never really the person I thought I married. She was just a user who saw me as a fool she could manipulate. One night I caught her sneaking around again. I followed her to a hotel downtown just to see what she was up to. She was with Mark, of course. They were in a suite, laughing, holding hands, completely ignoring the world. I stood there outside, feeling a mix of rage and heartbreak. This was the woman I loved, the woman I trusted, and she was out there with my best friend, planning her escape, probably with my money, my life savings, and my future. It hit me hard, how much I had lost and how much she was willing to throw away. I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't just sit around waiting for her to leave or for her to drain the last of what was left. I decided to move out myself. I rented a place nearby, packed my essentials, and left her to her plans. I also started documenting everything, her movements, her conversations, her financial dealings. I wanted to build a case, not just for the court, but to make her see that I wasn't going to be a pushover. I was done being the fool she took advantage of. The hardest part was the emotional toll. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry, so angry I could barely breathe some days. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized that I had to focus on myself now, rebuild what she had shattered, and make sure she paid for her lies. I couldn't stay in that house, surrounded by her lies and her betrayal. I had to cut her out of my life completely, even if it hurt like hell. So now I'm in this weird limbo, trying to pick up the pieces, trying to figure out how to move forward when everything I believed in has been turned upside down. I know I need to get a divorce, get my finances in order, and rebuild my sense of self. The betrayal has left scars, but I also know I'm stronger than I thought. I just wish I'd seen the signs earlier, but then again, maybe some things you just don't see until it's too late. The one thing I do know is I'll never trust her again, and I'll make damn sure she regrets what she did. That's the only way I'll find some peace. The days that followed were a blur of legal consultations, emotional exhaustion, and trying to keep it together. I had to face the reality that my marriage was over, and what made it worse was knowing she was out there, probably planning to run away with Mark or some other fool, taking my money and my future with her. I couldn't let that happen. I decided I needed to fight back, not just for my money, but for my dignity and self-respect. I started working with a lawyer to file for divorce. I also made it clear I wanted a full financial audit, especially focusing on the offshore accounts, the transfer of our savings, and any other hidden assets. I wanted her to know I wasn't going down without a fight. The lawyer told me she'd likely try to spin things, to lie her way out of it, but I had enough evidence to make her look guilty. I also hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her, just to make sure she wasn't sneaking around, trying to move more money or make other shady deals. Meanwhile, Emily was still playing her game. She'd come home, act innocent, and then turn around and accuse me of being a jealous, controlling husband. She called me crazy for suspecting her, even as I handed her proof of her lies. She told me I was ruining her life, that I was just insecure and paranoid, but I wasn't buying her lies anymore. I saw her for what she was, a woman who would do anything to get what she wanted, even if it meant destroying me in the process. One night, I caught her sneaking out again. She was trying to leave the house after I went to bed. I followed her, just to see where she was going. She met Mark at a bar downtown, both looking nervous but happy. She was clutching her phone tightly, probably texting him or coordinating her next move. I watched from a distance, feeling a surge of anger and sadness. That's when it hit me, I was losing everything. My wife, my best friend, my savings, my sense of security, all gone, or so I thought. I decided I had to do something drastic. I couldn't let her get away with this. I confronted her the next morning, with all my evidence laid out on the table. She broke down, crying, claiming she loved me, that Mark was just a fling, that she never meant to hurt anyone. But I knew better. I knew her game. She was trying to spin it to make herself look innocent, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. She was cornered. I told her I'd had enough, that I was filing for divorce, that she was not going to get away with stealing from me and betraying everything we built. Her reaction was classic, bitchy, manipulative, full of lies. She said I was just jealous because she was more successful than me, that I was insecure and controlling. She accused me of spying on her, of trying to ruin her life. I looked at her and felt a strange mixture of pity and rage. Pity, because she was so lost in her lies, and rage, because she had destroyed what little trust we had left. I told her she'd better get her act together because I wasn't going to be a pushover anymore. The game was over. I moved out that same day into a rental I found nearby. I didn't want to be in the same house anymore, surrounded by her false smiles and fake apologies. I needed space, clarity. I kept gathering evidence, talking to a forensic accountant, making sure I knew exactly what she had done with the money. Every day was a battle, trying to stay strong, trying not to let her manipulate her way back into my life, trying to hold onto what little dignity I had left. But I knew that once I got through this, I'd be better off without her. I just had to get through the storm first. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest in my life. I spent most of my time reviewing documents, talking to my lawyer, and trying to piece together exactly how deep her betrayal went. The offshore account she transferred the money into was a shell, and I was told by the forensic accountant that she had been funneling our savings into it over the past year, probably sneaking money out little by little, hiding it behind fake invoices, fake businesses. The worst part was knowing she had lied to me every step of the way, making me feel like I was paranoid for suspecting her. I also had to confront the emotional toll. Every time I thought about what she did, cheating on me with Mark, stealing our savings, lying about the pregnancy, it made my stomach turn. How could she do this? How could someone I loved so much turn into someone so malicious? I kept replaying the moments where she'd smile and lie to my face, trying to convince me everything was fine. That's when I realized she was a master manipulator, and I'd been a fool for so long. Throughout this chaos, I kept my distance from Emily. I didn't want to give her any more ammunition to spin her lies. I knew I needed to stay calm, rational, and let the evidence speak for itself. Every time she called or messaged, I just forwarded it to my lawyer. I wanted the court to see the full extent of her deception. Meanwhile, I was also working on legal strategies to get her out of the house, to freeze her assets, and to ensure she couldn't run away with more of my money. One day, I got a call from the bank, an alert about suspicious activity on her accounts. Turns out Emily had been trying to withdraw more money, probably planning to flee the country. I was both relieved and furious. Relief, because I caught her before she could do more damage. Fury, because she thought she could outsmart everyone and escape with everything. I instructed my lawyer to file an emergency injunction to freeze her assets and prevent her from leaving the country. I wasn't about to let her walk away with my life savings, my future, or my sanity. While all this was happening, Emily still tried to spin her story. She accused me of being controlling and paranoid, said I was sabotaging her happiness. She claimed she was done with Mark, that she wanted to work things out, but I knew better. I could see her desperation, her panic, her lies. I didn't believe a word she said anymore. I knew her game. She was trying to save face, to make herself look like the victim. But I had enough. I had the proof, and I was ready to take her to court. The final blow came when I found out she had been secretly contacting Mark behind my back, trying to set up a new life with him in another country. That was the moment I realized I had to cut her out completely. I filed for divorce, and it was finalized. A few months later, it was a bitter victory but necessary. I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. All the dreams I had for us, all the plans, gone. But at least I was finally free from her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. Looking back, I learned a lot through this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and sometimes people you think you know can turn out to be someone else entirely. I also learned that revenge isn't about hurting her. It's about protecting yourself, making her pay for what she did, and reclaiming your life. I don't wish this pain on anyone, but if I could give advice, it's this. Stay alert, keep your eyes open, and don't ignore the red flags. Because once someone crossed the line, there's no going back. And sometimes the only way to heal is to cut out the poison completely. Now, sitting here months after everything fell apart, I realize how much I've changed. The betrayal, the lies, the stolen money, They all left scars, but they also taught me something valuable. I learned to trust my instincts more, to listen to that little voice inside telling me something's wrong before it's too late. I also learned that some people are just fundamentally selfish, and no matter how much you love them, they'll always choose themselves over everything else. I won't lie, it's been a brutal ride. There are nights when I still wake up feeling the sting of betrayal, remembering her bitchy smirks, the lies she told, the way she used me. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever fully get over it, but I also know I'm stronger than I thought. I've started rebuilding my life from scratch, focused on my career, reconnecting with friends I'd pushed aside, and trying to find some normalcy again. It's not easy, and I still have days where I feel overwhelmed, but I refuse to let her steal any more of my happiness. One thing I do know for sure is that I will never trust her again, and I'll be damned if I let her ruin me. She betrayed everything we built, and I hope she feels the weight of what she's done someday. As for Mark, my so-called best friend, I hope he's happy with his choices, because I sure as hell am done wasting my energy on people who don't deserve it. Looking back, I wish I had seen the signs earlier, but that's life. You can't control everything. What matters is what you do afterward. I've learned that revenge isn't just about punishing someone. It's about reclaiming your dignity and making sure you don't get played again. It's about taking back your life piece by piece and never letting someone else write your story. I'm still healing, still fighting to trust again, but I know one thing. I'll come out of this stronger, wiser, and more cautious. And to anyone out there going through something similar, trust your gut, protect yourself, and never let anyone steal your peace.